12 After Dark. I am Michael Felder. I'm your host. And listen, we're powered by Bet Rivers. Brought to you by Bet Rivers. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter, but you can also always find us on the SiriusXM app. I'm joined on Field of 12 After Dark by, you know what? Let's kick it off with the coach, Kevin Sumlin, Arizona A&M, Houston. Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. Going to be a great show tonight, as always, with you two guys, and can't wait to get it going. Let's talk some ball.
I'm ready to talk ball. That's all. Listen, that's the best. That's my favorite thing about doing Field of 12 is we get to talk ball, and we also have Trevor Knight, former quarterback at A&M, at OU, Field of 12 college football analyst. T. Knight, how you living, Playboy?
Doing great, man. Midweek, having a good week so far. It is championship week, and I, just like you guys, I'm excited to talk a little ball, dive into some of these matchups. Going to be an awesome show, man.
Listen, before we get to the toast, I just want to ask you guys, is there a sense of like release or relief when you get to this? We see the finish line. You know that we got 1 week. Championship week is all we've got left until we get to bowl week. Is there relief? Oh, okay. You're shaking. I see you shake your head, Coach. So you tell me.
I mean, come on. You know, you got a whole nother deal going on, right? So I've been a part of a team that has gotten to the Big 12 championship game and got blown out by K-State. We're going to get to that, right?
Yeah.
And there's a little guy running around on the field. I'm like, who the hell is that guy? We didn't know who he was. Right? So we get on the bus and get back, and we're still going to play for the national championship the next week. You don't know, right? K-State is a problem. Always has been, always will be. We'll get to that later. But no, there is no sense of relief this weekend for any team in a championship game.
Yeah. Trevor, what about you? You played in Big 12 championship game, right?
Yeah, I played in a couple of them, and Coach is right. I mean, there's more heightened awareness now than maybe even last week because the pressure's on. All these teams that have a 1, 2, 3, or 4 by them, and also potentially a 5 or 6, they're fighting to get into the party, into the show, and all stakes are on the line. Now, if you're Georgia, and we will get to this as well, you might be able to just kind of relax knowing that you're going to get to the party anyways, but you never know.
Here's the thing. I'm thinking about the other 127, 128 teams. They're like, whew, we did it. We got to the end of the season. We know where we're going. We don't play this weekend. We're done. But you're 100% correct. When we look at Ohio State, who's 5, Alabama, who's 6, Penn State is sitting at 8. Wow. Penn State's at 8. You get Clemson at 9. Kansas State at 10. You know what? I'm bumping this one up. We're going championship. Let's talk championship. Hang on. We got to go backwards to go forwards. We got to go backwards to go forwards.
Felder's getting all excited. Felder's getting all excited.
Yeah, that's why you couldn't be a coach. If you go backwards to go forwards, that won't work.
No.
Well, if you go back and look at the Michigan game.
No, I'm just joking, Mike.
I know you're joking, but I'm just saying, if you go back, you got to. If you're Ohio State, you better go back and look at that Michigan game to figure out where you're going next, right?
Right.
So what do you think? What do you think about that game?
It's I don't understand why they're playing zero coverage the whole game without Michigan's best running backs not on the field. If the game is close and you have that kind of talent on the perimeter, and offensively, what you've done, you've led the nation.
Yeah.
Not just the Big Ten, the nation in scoring, in offense, everything else. You couldn't run it. They sold out against you. It's not going to be, hey, let's not get in. It's like when you're a kid, right? If a guy is a bigger guy, you just got to fight him just to fight him. You can dance around him and do whatever you want. And they could have done that. But to give up the long runs and shut them out and play zero was crazy to me. Make them come down the field, right? Our quarterback, we've got better players. We're going to be fine. But they panicked. And that's certain. I mean, I just didn't like it.
Yep. I agree with that, Coach. Up until maybe the last couple of days, I've been giving Michigan all the credit in the world. But I think I've gotten to the point where I'm more disappointed in Ohio State than I am excited and proud of what Michigan did. You're at home. We know you can score points. We know you got the fire. And said, I just don't think they showed up to the plate ready to hit the ball out of the ballpark. It was too methodical. It was a little bit relaxed. I think that they came in a little overconfident, and Michigan, I'll give them the credit. They took advantage of a Ohio team that just didn't give them their best, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with either of you. I will say this. I like playing zero because listen, let's put my nuts on the table. Let's go.
That's what you got.
That's what you got. But you have to make tackles.
Mm-hmm.
So the tackling was a bigger problem than playing cover zero to me.
Yeah. They go hand in hand though, Mike.
Yes, they do. One hand washes the other. And the other part for me was they didn't make run fits. And I think that's a bigger problem. Like, if you don't make run fits and you let Donovan Edwards go for, 65, 75 yards, that's your problem. That's where you had a mistake. That's where someone wasn't fitting their gap. And now, guess what you're doing? You're sitting on the sideline at 5, hoping somebody makes a mistake so that you can get back into the – this is you forgot – Ohio State is sitting on the outside. They forgot their ID, and they are hoping that the bouncer lets them in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, because if you look at the game and you're Ohio State, the way that game played out was completely different than how they've played all year.
Yes.
Right? They played in a different mode, playing zero coverage, and they can't get things done. They got impatient. They're at home. You've got good players.
They played zero coverage all year.
Yeah, I know, but not like that.
Right.
And whether it's quarters or whatever, when they walked it down and give Michigan credit, they dictated play by formations.
Yes.
They got them on certain things.
Bingo.
They did a great job of doing that. Don't just not say Ohio State screwed it up. Michigan played to win.
They played good football.
And you have a quarterback that I talked about earlier in the year who I didn't believe in, who played the game of his life in the first half.
Yes.
Right? So at halftime, this conversation happens. Can he do that again in the second half on the road against us if we stay back there and make him throw it?
Yeah.
Right? Because we still got a chance.
Yeah.
And they just kept coming after him. Make him play the second half the way he played the first half, because he hadn't played that way all his life.
Right.
So let me ask you guys this, Coach. It sounds like you're saying that Ohio State got out-schemed. But, Felder, you're saying a lot of miscues, a lot of miskeys, weren't filling gaps. Was it a little bit of both? Were they out-schemed and they made mistakes?
Yeah. Well, here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that Michigan did a great job of scheming, right?
Yes.
But Ohio State helped them because if you have a quarterback that played like JJ did in the first half, right? Is he going to play that way in the second half? We haven't seen him play a whole game like that in his life.
Bingo.
I mean, in college football. Let's make him beat us.
Right. Which is why you play cover zero.
Hand the ball off and let him run for 75 yards. I mean, to me, that's an easy fix.
Yeah, you put some umbrella over the top, and you force him to make decisions, and force him to throw it underneath, or force him to throw the ball, like force him to go through a progression.
Right. Exactly.
And instead, they were like, no, we're just going to keep that full court press on, right? Like this is
right.
This is essentially oh God, I can't remember his name now. Coached at Arkansas basketball where they ran the full court press the whole time, and they would, and if teams would throw the ball over with a skip pass, guess what? You're wide open, and now you got a layup. And
40 minutes of hell.
40, yes, exactly. Yes, there we go. You got me. You know who I'm talking about.
I'm a basketball guy, so as well. Yeah.
Listen, I'm not a hooper, okay? I only hoop because my parents needed me to be out of the house.
Yep. No,
Nolan
what
Richardson.
I mean, that's what I saw. So
Yeah.
make him beat you with the best football he's played all year. Now,
Yes.
and Trevor, you know this. You know, we've been a part, we've seen it, we've been on both sides of it. Like this dude tonight's his night.
Yeah.
But make it be his night. Make it be his night, because the last 11 weeks, he hadn't shown that.
Right. Exactly. And so, Trevor, I want to can you take me to the quarterback mindset of, hey man, I'm playing better than I played. You did this against Alabama, right?
Yeah.
I'm playing better than I used. I'm playing better than I'm playing great. How do I keep it going? What's going through JJ McCarthy's head?
There were multiple games, hopefully a lot of games, where you come out and
come on.
Good, let's keep this going. And you can get into that rhythm that in the first half. But Coach made a great point. You go into halftime, the other locker room saying, all right, he's sitting down, he's getting cooled off, you know, his body's cooling down, he's got to start thinking, he's going to get out of his rhythm. Can he do this in the second half? And that's where good players become great players. If you can go and take a first half, go in the locker room, make adjustments, and then come out and get right back on track. Go right down the field and score. And, you know, it showed me a lot about who he was as a quarterback from that standpoint, that he's not just coming out there making lucky plays, but he's actually playing the position of quarterback and leading his football team for 2 halves and 4 quarters.
So here's what we're doing. We got to do toast of the night. And I'm going to kick my toast off, and I'm going to toast to Michigan. Mike Sainristil, a guy that played wide receiver for them for 3 years. Now he's their best defensive back. Hey, should have been there the whole time, baby, because this guy is a monster. There's a reason he was this player of the year in Massachusetts. I'm kicking it off with Mike Sainristil. Let's go, baby.
Love it.
All right, Trevor, what you got?
All right, I'm going to take it to the polls. And no, it's not near the top. It's not the top 4 or even close to it. But my hometown school is UTSA Roadrunners. All right, so I am toasting to the AP poll, and I'm not toasting CFP poll, because the AP poll put the 10-2 Roadrunners in the top 25, and the CFP left them out. They've got a great quarterback. They played great football. Their 2 losses were not bad losses. They were good games. And they are a fun team to watch, a younger program, 10 years old or so, that's playing really good football, showing that they deserve a right to be a year like they're having this year. The 10-2 Roadrunners, to the AP poll, cheers to you guys.
And they should have beat Houston.
They should have.
All right, Coach, what you got?
Well, here's what I got. I said it week 3. Everybody's mad, right? Look, everybody's laughing. I said they got the easiest path to the Big Ten championship game, which I'm going to this weekend. Now, I'm not saying they're going to beat Michigan, right? I'm not saying that. They've lost to certain teams in the Big Ten, but they've found their way through the West, which is not that hard to do. And the road went through Champaign, Illinois, and Jeff Brom, kind of maligned, didn't know what was going to happen before everything was going on this year, did great. But, there's a guy right now playing football named Charlie Jones, who leads the country, right? Leads the Big Ten. tied with Marvin Harrison Jr. in touchdowns. A little guy that transferred because the quarterback was a walk-on who left Iowa. Nobody wanted him. He couldn't play over there because they can't score more than 10 points anyway at Iowa. So he leaves and comes over there. And now, he's going to the Senior Bowl. So my toast is to the Purdue Boilermakers, Charlie Jones, leading the Big Ten in receptions, 1,199 yards and how many touchdowns? Same as old boy, right?
Yeah, from high. Yeah, same as what is it? Same as
nobody
Hyatt?
knows who he is.
It's not this. No, it's not the same as Hyatt. It is the same as Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yes.
Yeah. So Charlie Jones to you.
Cheers. Cheers.
How about that?
Listen, I knew we were going to get some Purdue love in here. 12 touchdowns. I mean, listen, 12 touchdowns for a wide receiver. That's big time, baby.
Yeah, but 1,200 yards is even more, right?
Yeah. I love it. I love to see it. So I'm excited. So we got a lot to get through this show. My wife, I just texted my wife and I said, hey, I need you to bring me a beer and a shot glass because we are going to do a Boilermaker so that we make sure that we make Coach happy. But we got the culture. So I want to get through so we went through what some of the things that happened last weekend. Can we go rapid fire and then get back on track?
Let's go.
Clemson, LSU, Oregon. Give me your thoughts on those three games. Let's start with you, Trevor.
Yeah, I was at the LSU A&M game.
Yeah.
And, man, for watching on TV all year, both of these teams, it was a very different aroma in the stadium on that Saturday night.
Aroma is a good word.
It was. I mean, it felt there was something to play for the Aggies. The crowd was rocking, right? I mean, it was a great atmosphere. I thought A&M came out and played really tight, really good. They had good quarterback play. They were flying around on defense, and then you just didn't see that oomph that you've seen out of LSU over the past several weeks. They almost just kind of laid down, and that's the feeling that I had in stadium. So yeah. I sincerely hope that they come out this week, Georgia, with a little bit different intensity about them. That being said, hats off to A&M. Obviously, that's the homer comment, but it was a fun game to be at. Now, the Clemson game, man, I think as opposed to what I said about Ohio State, Michigan, I am going to give the credit in this one to Spencer Rattler and Shane Beamer and South Carolina. I think that they have figured out their recipe. Now, a little bit too late in the season. Spencer Rattler's got some confidence about him. Shane Beamer's obviously got into that. Out in the last one there to our man Yogi. He talked very highly of Oregon State. He talked how disciplined they are, how well coached they are.
They're super explosive too.
Yeah, and just this far off. And man, they came out and put one together against the Ducks.
Coach?
Yeah, I mean, are we surprised? Right? Let's be honest. Clemson, LSU, Oregon been treading water all year.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's like, well, when are they going to show up? When are they going to do this? When are they going to do that? Right. And so early in the year, Georgia was having those kind of issues.
Yeah.
They got better every week.
Hulked up.
These guys, I mean, every week, everybody's been holding their breath.
Yeah.
Just to be honest with you, you don't know what LSU team's going to show up. And A&M is good enough. I mean, they played great. And to your point, Trevor, the young talent, you had a young quarterback. The 15 is the future. He's really a good player. And they got, I mean, it was a better football team on the field that night, right? Then you go back and you look at Oregon State. Oregon's been that team since day one, right?
Yeah.
You go back to the first loss, then they overcome it. But in the end, are we surprised at these three teams? Because we've been watching them every week, and Clemson barely won every week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who's surprised at that?
Clemson remind me a lot of Florida State in 2014.
Yeah.
The team that, like, yeah, they did win those games, but then they got to the playoff and it was like, oh, you got embarrassed. Like, this was bad.
Right.
So,
and it gets back to what Trevor's talking about. Like right now, if the playoffs were next week, who would you rather play? Clemson or South Carolina?
right. Yes, exactly. I think that's a great point. I think that's a great way to kind of lead into the next discussion of this, because we've got, what do we have? What do we get? 12 games this week, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got 12 games this week. So let's go and we don't have to listen. We're not gonna talk about spend all this time talking about these games that aren't conference title. Well, let's talk conference title games. USC and Utah. Coach Sumlin. What are we looking at in USC Utah?
Well, I think you're going to see two different styles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle has done a great job at establishing culture. You have to beat Utah. We all know that.
They don't lose.
And no, they showed that the first week of the season, which get them, and they've gotten better, right?
Yeah.
I think right now, and Trevor, you can comment on this. I said it early in the year, even about Caleb. The difference is the quarterbacks, right?
Yes.
I love Utah's quarterback. We talked about him week 1, 2, 3. But I think in this game, I think the way Caleb's playing right now, it's kind of
can't beat him.
Yep.
It's silly, right?
Yeah.
And the offense and the talent on the perimeter, right, is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And their defense is not very good. We know that.
Yes, we know. We all know that.
We've been saying that since week 1, 2. They've gotten better, but I mean, I don't know right now the way he's playing. They're going to be hard to beat by anybody.
It's going to be really tough. Trevor, what do you think with Utah USC?
I think that's the first and most important thing is that Caleb Williams is on right now to go to New York and hoist a trophy. And when you have that type of confidence as a quarterback and coming down from your play caller through a guy like that, it's almost an unstoppable feeling. I mean, it really is. And I think the other two big points is Cam Rising, although he has the ability to play up here, he's been a little more spotty. And it's not at Utah, right? It's a neutral site game. Right. It's later in the year. It's very difficult to beat somebody twice. It's right. It's going to be.
Let's just call it what it is. Who's going to be more comfortable in Vegas? SC or Utah? Really?
Hide the sodas. Hide the sodas in the Bellagio.
Call it what it is, right?
You're killing it. You're killing it, Coach. I love that one. I listen, I'm going to throw another one at you guys. And this one, it's a little off the board, but Tulane, UCF. These two teams, Tulane's defense to me has been off the wall. They've been they're Michael Jackson in the 80s before everything else came out. Like they're just bangers all day.
I would be shocked if Tulane doesn't win this game.
Yeah.
Willie has done a great job wherever he's been, right?
Yeah.
One AA football. He's transitioned Tulane, and I told him about it. It probably could be, construed different ways, but that defense is ridiculous. Right?
They're so good.
And they're fast, they're big, they're athletic. he is a hell of a coach. And
it reminds me of UAB. What is it, 2-3 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm shocked he's still there. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
Because
we're going to talk coaching changes.
He's been really good wherever he's been.
Yeah.
And played for national championships. I mean, done all that at a lower division, but their defense is ridiculous. And I don't see that changing during that championship game.
I'm a Tulane guy. Trevor, what do you got?
Again, go to a couple of the constants. It's very difficult to beat some twice.
Yeah.
And you guys correct me if I'm wrong. I think that in conference they play the conference game at a home stadium, right? They're playing at Tulane.
Yeah, they're in New Orleans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're in New Orleans. So you give that nod as well to Tulane on top of everything that you guys just mentioned. I mean, this is a team that albeit early on in the year, beat the Kansas State team that we're talking about potentially going and knocking off an undefeated team, right? I mean, they're no slouch. And, I think that Gus Malzahn has done a phenomenal job. I've talked about it all year. He looks like he's having fun coaching. How cool would it be for him to get a conference title? But I like Tulane in this one as well.
We've already talked about LSU and Georgia. I'm going to save Purdue and Michigan. Actually, you know what? Let's do Purdue and Michigan, okay? Because my wife came in. So here's what we got.
Let's go.
You see this, Coach?
Yeah, I see it.
You see that?
Yeah, you got to drop it in there.
Hey! Okay.
There you go.
And you got to finish it. Let's go. Good shot, Felder.
What's Purdue's?
There you go, Felder.
What does Purdue's chance look like against Michigan?
You know what? I had a crazy guy call me. Wait, hold on. Give me this. So I've gone both ways, right? So the guy said, "Hey, look, we match up better against Michigan."
Yes, they do.
And I said, "No." Here's the coach in me that came out. I said, then Ohio State. I said, "You mean the only team that beat Ohio State?" so he got real quiet right there, right? So, but he's right. I mean, he's right. They're going to throw it around. I mean, that's what they're going to do. That gives them a chance. They're going to challenge that secondary. But obviously last week, Michigan secondary didn't have a hard time with Ohio State's receivers, right?
Right.
And so, I'm just saying that I think Michigan's going to win.
Yes.
I know that, but knowing the way they do things and how Jeff is, I would look to see some trick plays early.
Yep.
And all kinds of, they got nothing to lose.
Let it all hang out.
Let it all hang out. And, and so you always keep that card in your pocket if you're like that. So everybody's happy about them. And like I said, it's going to be interesting, but to have Ohio State sitting there watching the game, like what's going to happen, right? Rooting for Purdue, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that never happens.
Yeah. Trevor, what do you give me one? Listen, I want you to give me something on that quick because I want to get to the Big 12 because this one is, to me, the most interesting championship game.
Yeah. So I'll say this. It helps Purdue. Coach mentioned it that they're going to throw the ball around. It helps that they're not playing in some stadium that has elements, right? They're in a dome. They're indoors in Indianapolis.
Yep.
In Indianapolis.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll say this: it would be unbelievable to come up and bite Michigan. They shouldn't, but I have a much better feeling about that potentially happening. Not say it's going to, but that potentially happening than if Ohio State would have taken care of Michigan and it would have been a different matchup there. So I think I like Michigan in this game, but I find myself rooting for Purdue as well. Should be a watch.
All right, let's get to the Big 12. Both of you guys got a lot of experience there. K-State, TCU. There's no team that feels more like we got to hang on to what we've got than TCU. K-State's at 10. What's this game look like? I'm going to start with you, Trevor. Trevor Knight, I'm starting with you. You know what, Coach? I'm starting with you.
It's a Sunny Dykes.
Am I cutting out on you guys? Sorry about that.
It's all good. It's all good. Trevor,
go ahead, Coach. I want to hear your thoughts anyways, and I'll follow you up.
I think TCU knows, and I said this before, they understand the assignment. They understand what they're supposed to do. They know they have to win. They know that they have to win by a lot. This can't be close because they will be jumped. And
here's my point.
Go ahead.
All right. So at what point do we not consider TCU as a Big West or a WAC team? They've been jumped before. I guarantee you right now, if Texas or Oklahoma was 10-0, we wouldn't have this conversation.
Bingo. That's my point.
So at what point is that going to stop?
I don't know. I don't know when it stops.
That's my question.
It stopped for me a long time ago.
Right. But you understand
what I'm saying? But it stopped for you a long time ago as well. But
exactly. Gary Patterson, they got hopped a couple times, right?
Yes, they got in 2014 getting leaped over by Ohio State. Like this isn't an us problem. We're not the problem.
No, I'm just bringing it up. I'm sorry.
It's everybody else is the problem, not us.
Here's my thought, and this is how I felt most of the. Really, until they played Texas and they showed me that they could play defense. You start the year off with a new head coach that comes from you. And don't get me wrong, Sonny Dykes did fantastic at SMU, but it's still not it's not a super big name coach, right? And that may or may not be fair. First year guy, what's he going to do? This is traditionally a defensive school. He's an offensive coach.
Sure.
There's one storyline that goes against him. Now they start winning. Well, remember, their quarterback played phenomenal for the most of the year. He has had a couple games where he wasn't on top of his game, but he was not the starter week one either. It was Chandler Morris.
Yep.
And so you're saying first-year head coach that doesn't have experience winning in a Power 5 conference like this in some sort of time, a quarterback that wasn't even able to win the job coming into the first week. And now you're navigating a conference that a lot of people are saying is down this year because your big logos, Texas and OU, aren't playing as well as they could. And so that's been the narrative that people are writing. Oh, yeah, they're winning, but conference is down. 5, 6, and 7 would beat them if they weren't unblemished, so on and so forth. They have earned my respect, especially in that Texas game defensive side, and they should, by every stretch of the imagination, get all the credit in the world for what they've done. I believe if they win this football game, even if it's by 1 point, they're in. I mean, they're undefeated. They're in, and I look forward to them playing really well against whoever they play.
And Felder, I'll say this too, all right? So you give them credit for that. They detracted, right? What's the real difference between the Big 12 and the ACC right now?
Oh, well, we didn't even talk about the ACC championship game, so I think that's the difference.
I know.
But here's what I'm going to say. Here's the thing, because we talk about if it was Oklahoma or if it was Texas.
Right.
If ifs and buts were I'm going to go, my mom's going to love this. She'll never see it because she doesn't do it. She doesn't know what I do. But if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, the world would be a sweeter place.
Right.
And if TCU was Oklahoma or TCU was Texas, of course, we wouldn't even be having this discussion at all. We wouldn't be having this discussion. But the reality of it is TCU they've already gone through this, right? In 2014, they've already lived this. Even in 2014, going back to, what is it, 2008? Is that 2008 or 2006? Where they were undefeated. Boise State was undefeated. Cincinnati was undefeated. And they also weren't invited to the party. There was a whole year where all those teams were undefeated and they weren't invited to the party either. And so, what did TCU had to play Boise State in the Holiday Bowl?
Yep.
And so they're terrified of what's going to happen. So that's all.
I'll take it a step further. In 2000, where is that? In 2007, Purdue, K-State had a great football team.
Yeah.
Number 2 in the country. You know this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A&M, right in the Big 12 championship game.
And didn't matter.
I'm at Purdue. We ended up playing them in the Alamo Bowl.
Yep. Didn't matter.
Did not matter.
You're not brand name, boy.
So, I mean, I see that right now.
So they know.
And TCU is a really good football team. And
they are very good. And let me ask you guys something. Let me ask you something. 2 6'5" wide receivers. What are you supposed to do with that?
Throw it to them. hey, and Trevor will get mad. Like that, those aren't all back shoulders either.
No.
Because they got a chance. Just give them a chance.
That's all I'm saying. Like when I look at TCU, I'm like, who's going to cover these dudes?
Yeah.
I like Kelly Ringo. Keely Ringo, I like him. He's good. But guess what?
Really
Guess what? He ain't got nothing on Quentin Johnston.
No, they got players.
Because the worst part about playing defense, and Coach Sumlin, I'm sure you agree. The worst part about playing defense is you only have to mess up one time.
Right?
You mess up once. That's a touchdown. Especially if you're a safety or a corner. You mess up one time. Uh-oh. Touchdown.
You don't want to be the corner or the special teams coach. The only time people look for you is when it gets screwed up, right? That's it.
So, let me ask this question, because we're talking about TCU, and so I'm going to paint a scenario because I think it's an interesting one. Georgia is a different story. I think if Georgia will do what Georgia does, and I think they're in regardless. But of the other 2 undefeated teams, Michigan and TCU. If let's say both of those teams lose, who makes it to the playoff? Obviously, Ohio State jumped. But then you've got to say, okay, are we going to put a 2-loss Alabama in over a 1-loss lost in their conference title, right? So I guess my question is this: if Michigan loses, they're losing to their 1 loss is to an unranked Purdue team.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If TCU loses, even though everybody said all the stuff we just talked about, their only loss is to a top 10 team in Kansas State. Kansas State's number 10 in the country.
Right.
But I still think
they're
that
in.
Everybody else in the country is saying, well, Michigan will stay in and TCU will be bumped out.
That's the scary part.
No, I think you're right, Trevor. I mean, exactly. In the scenario, and like I said, I've been involved in that. We lost to K-State, and like Sproles is running around crazy at Arrowhead Stadium. Like, who is that guy? Right? We can't tackle him. So we get on the plane. We get up the next morning. I'm thinking we're going to whatever ball is like. We're still in. Right? It's Oklahoma. I don't think that will happen with TCU.
I hope it doesn't.
If they lose, then everybody's going to say, "Oh, let's put Ohio State back in there."
Yeah.
Right? Which is a 1 loss. And I will say this: and I've never said this publicly, but I got in the SEC. Nick said it's easier to get into the national championship game than it is to win the SEC. He's won 2 titles without winning the SEC title.
Because you got to do the work.
Yeah, and then everybody gets back. I mean, and then you get to. I mean, you have to play that game and then come off of it, recruit, everything else, because coaches are recruiting still during this time. It's the big time. Yeah. And so the work is double load. And I'm with you. That'll be a shame if they lose one game and get jumped. I think that says a lot about not
how people view
the Big 12, and that's not right.
Not just view the Big 12, but the way that people watch college football, and it's one of those things where, like, listen, we can go all the way from New York to LA, and the reality of it is the biggest college football markets are Birmingham, Atlanta, Columbus, and so they're watching, and then it doesn't go all the way, and that's that's a huge thing. So I think about that a lot. Real quick, both of you guys, give me 30 seconds on the ACC championship game, because both of these teams kind of pissed down their leg, and so what do you? Okay, you're laughing. What do you got?
No, I got nothing. I mean, I got nothing. Right? I'm like. I mean, I said it all year. I mean, these guys have been treading water all year.
Yeah.
Right? And then, to be honest with you, I was, I thought Carolina was going to make it. I really did.
I did too. Hey, I'm back home, and I thought they would.
Never count Dave Doran out based on what was said that week. NC State's a real football team.
Yep.
They're built that way. That locker room's that way. They're a tough-ass crowd.
Yes, they are.
Made it that way, and they will not go away.
He's a hell of a coach.
He's a hell of a coach. Hell of a coach. And you know what you're going to get. And so, I don't know, with what's going on in the ACC. I mean, it's where it is right now. We knew this early.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw Clemson, the flagship. We saw a bunch of these teams. Like, who are they?
Yep.
Although the most entertaining game on TV last weekend was Florida State and Florida.
And Florida, yeah. Trevor, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, go win a conference title for whoever it is, and whoever ends up hoisting the trophy. And what is it? You win the conference out there, and you're not going to the playoff. You go to the Orange Bowl. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
So go to the Orange Bowl. Hang out on South Beach.
Stop laughing. Coach Sumlin, stop laughing.
Who they play?
Stop. I don't know, but stop laughing. You're laughing so hard. Stop laughing.
Hey, but I'll say this. I am interested. I am interested to see what Dabo does this offseason in his quarterback room, because it got to the point this year to where he benched his guy. Now, he came back very strongly, which I loved watching and saying, hey, that's my guy. And he did finish out the season.
Yes, he did.
I think there's going to be a quarterback battle, a real quarterback battle.
Sure.
At Clemson this offseason. And
I'd like that. I'd like a real I'd like a real actual battle.
Yep.
Or a transfer portal.
And that's the thing I don't want. What I want is for these guys to fight it out.
Yep. But both of those guys have the ability to play at a lot of different schools. Yeah. And so that will be interesting. But hey, if this is a down year for Dabo and Clemson, and you're still winning 11 games, maybe 12 games, and
ain't gonna win the conference title.
Yeah. Oh, they're gonna. But I will say this: Drake May, Heisman 2023.
Yeah, start right here. And I'll say this, and then we can wrap these guys up, because I know we don't want to spend much time on this, but Mac Brown, I mean, the guy has shown that he understands culture. He understands how to get.
He's a hell of a coach.
He's a hell of a coach.
Yep.
And how old is Mac now? Mac's well
70.
70. Yeah, he's 70.
Right on top of it.
He's right on top of it, and it's impressive. So Don't really care in this one, but would be cool for Matt to host the show.
It's like the rest
Sorry,
of the world, Trevor. They give the Big 12 a bunch of crap, right?
Damn,
Yeah,
y'all are killing me.
Actually,
I live in Charlotte. Y'all are killing me.
The ACC championship game for the first time in a long time.
I live in Charlotte. Y'all are killing me. Everyone, my neighbors are going to be upset. Everyone's going to be mad. Y'all are killing me.
Just the truth, Mike. The truth.
I might have to have another Boilermaker. Hot damn. So when we look at this, we talked TCU-Kansas State, right? We got to TCU-Kansas State.
Yeah.
We got into, and so, by the way, what is Kansas State doing with a backup quarterback is amazing.
Yeah. And as I've told people all my life, if you ever played there or played those guys, and Trevor can back this up, K-State's a problem. They've got no players you think. They play hard, they're sound, they're fast, and they're
bad.
Like with the 37th pick, you're like, that dude, was he the nickel? What he's covering kicks. They play their ass off every week.
Yeah.
And they got speed, they got talent, and there's a standard that even back to Coach Snyder, right? It's what it is.
I love it.
And without Martinez, think if he's still playing.
Yep.
It would be amazing. They're scarier.
I'll say this about K-State. I played K-State 5 times in college. 4 at Oklahoma, 1 at A&M. Lost to them 3. Only beat them twice.
Ooh.
And it was different quarterbacks. It was different players. Coach, that was my last college game. Coach and I were there. And we had twice as much talent as they did. And I don't even think we played a horrible game. They just stuck in there and found a way to win. They're a scary team to go up against.
It's been tough. I mean, and being at A&M and at Oklahoma for 5 years and going up, I just told you. So we got our ass handed to us in the Big 12 championship game that night. And then, so it also helps. I mean, Coach Snyder set that thing off, and they weren't anything, and the expectations are so high, and the players there they're not afraid of anything,
right?
And they've got better players than you think. In this scenario, it's a scary scenario for anybody to play them right now, because you don't want to. I mean, they're a completely different team, right? They play
they're different than everybody
every week, and they'll run a guy out there you've never seen that can play the same way the other guy played last week. Yep. I mean,
or they'll run a guy out there that plays a completely different way.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
it's not that they have more talent, but they do have more depth in production. It's the craziest thing in the world. You got 5 stars on sitting on the bench at other schools. Come in and look like a deer in headlights. At the State, you got the walk-on transfer from a junior college that steps in and produces.
They can fly.
They can fly. No doubt.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we're watching it. Will Howard is nothing like Adrian Martinez.
No.
They're not close to being the same player.
No.
They're not close. They're completely different players. And he just comes on and he's like, you know what? Let's do it my way, baby. Come on, Frank Sinatra. Like, goodness. All right, so what do we got? We got 10 minutes to go. I wanted to get into the coaching carousel. Hugh Freeze gets hired at Auburn. Dillingham at Arizona State. Matt Rule at Nebraska, right? And then Wisconsin. Who got hired at Wisconsin? Luke Fickell. Luke Fickell goes to Wisconsin. So we look at these 4. Can you give me? I don't need you guys to rank them. I don't like ranking. Can you give me the guy that you're the most interested in?
I'll go first. I'm gonna go 2. because these, and we've got them listed on a rundown here.
Sure.
I think Hugh Freeze going to Auburn is such a great fit in a lot of ways because he's won in that side of the conference before.
Sure.
He's beaten Coach Saban in Alabama multiple times. I think it was twice, right? In his 5 years.
Yes, he did. And then he should have won 3 but they won. Alabama won because they got a scoop and score or something.
And he did that with quarterback play that was good, but not guys that are still playing on Sundays, right?
Right.
I mean, he was a great coach. Now, obviously, everything that's gone on, and he's brought Liberty to what Liberty has done. If he and I don't know the whole at Auburn and what's going on there, and I've heard it's incredibly ugly. But if he can diligently navigate those waters and still have energy to put his style of coaching on the practice field and in that locker room, I'm really excited to see what he does there. Kenny Dillingham, really neat story. Talk about just a student of the game. The dude got hurt his senior year at high school, Chaparral High School in Arizona. Ends up, hey, I want to coach. So coaches JV team and then goes and while he is taking classes at Arizona State is the calling plays on the varsity team. And that's a big time school in Arizona. This isn't just some, run in the middle high school. Chaparral High School put some dudes out there in out of Scottsdale and then goes on and it just shows you that he knows what he's talking about. He didn't stumble across an opportunity. He has made an opportunity for himself. And Arizona State's a good opportunity, right? I mean, you can recruit there. It's a great place. It's right there, a great part of the country. Young guy. Let's put his hard hat on and let him bring his lunch pail and see what he can do.
Coach Sumlin?
I would say this. I think I'm with you, Trevor. I think Kenny's going to do a great job. I think he's a great fit for Arizona State. Chaparral High School has got great players. These high school coaches, I'm back in my Tucson house right now, and a bunch of these guys he's going to hire a couple guys that I'm not at liberty to say, but that
it's all good. It's all
high
good.
School coaches that have won here in the state, and it's a big deal. And Trevor knows, that used to come here or come to Phoenix and Christian Kirk, those guys have
Dude, Christian
drag him there, right? That ain't gonna happen anymore with Kenny. He's a Chaparral High School guy.
Christian Kirk was. I remember being in Oregon for the opening, and watching Christian Kirk.
Ridiculous.
And I was like, "Yo, this dude is sick." Like,
think about this. And I'm just naming 2 names, and there's a lot more of these names that got out of the state of Arizona.
Exactly.
But Christian Kirk and Mark Andrews both did not stay in the state.
Yep.
Tight end.
And both of those guys are playing very good football.
You throw in the what's the kid, the quarterback from Iowa State?
Yeah. So you've got
Kyle Allen.
Guys. And you've got the corner who's starting for all these guys that were in the city and just in Phoenix alone.
Yep.
In Phoenix proper. And Kenny's going to do a great job there. I think in looking at this list of guys, I think that's the most impressive and the one that makes sense because he's a young guy. He gets it, the energy of the city. I think he's going to be really successful.
Oh, we didn't mention Spencer Rattler from right there as well.
Spencer Rattler, Brock Purdy. Just,
I know. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah. I'm excited. This is exciting. And then I want to, let me, you know what, Coach, I want to hear your thoughts on these jobs. We've got Georgia Tech still open, Colorado still open, Stanford and
Georgia
Cincinnati.
Tech's not open anymore, is it?
Did I miss one? Did they hire somebody?
No, just keep going. I think they're getting ready to hire the interim head coach.
Okay, great. Brent Key. Yes. Brent Key, Brent Key was at Penn State? Alabama, excuse me.
Alabama.
He's at Alabama. So they're gonna if they hire they're gonna hire Brent Key. So we have Colorado. So here we got Colorado, Stanford, Cincinnati.
Right.
Your agent calls you. What's the job that you want him to talk to you about?
Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech.
Again, like Trevor said.
Let's do it. Yeah, that's why. Hey, listen, I'm trying to set up a thing,
it's
man.
Atlanta, but you get SEC players, right? In the ACC and not the Coastal.
Yep.
So
there's no Coastal anymore,
side, right?
There's no Coastal anymore.
I know, but what I'm saying is you're going to play that whole different side. It's like the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Big Ten West.
Big Ten West.
Right?
Yeah.
So you should be able to field a team out of the city of Atlanta.
Yeah.
That should be all right.
The problem is you got to go to Georgia Tech. You got to take a lot of math.
Here's what I think is interesting about that, Coach. When you made that comment several weeks ago, great comment. You said you can fly guys right into Atlanta in an Uber or put them in a cab or whatever it is, a nice car, and drive them 15 minutes north to campus.
Yep.
We were comparing it to Wisconsin and to Nebraska. But now Stanford, you're right there near a big city. You can fly right in, to San Francisco.
What do we think about Stanford?
And same thing with Colorado, close to Denver, great, all those things. What was the question, Felder?
What do we think about Stanford?
I think it's such an interesting. I almost put Stanford in the same category as like a military school or Northwestern, right? It's like it's a different type of player that has to come there because of the academics of this. And there's never been a dumb guy that's played at Stanford. I'm sure there is, but maybe there hasn't, right? I mean, it's a different type of recruiting. But once you get guys there, and if you can develop them, they're going to be, at least cerebral. And I can work with somebody that understands the game.
Yeah, no, I agree. Coach Sumlin, what do you logistically, like for you? You've had to. It's great to be able to fly somebody to Atlanta.
Right.
It's great to fly somebody into San Francisco. How good is it to get the kids that you
talking about apples and oranges here, right? When you're talking about Stanford.
You tell me.
No, you're talking about Stanford, right?
Yeah.
So there is they recruit differently. And
yes, they do.
Over the course of time, and even at Purdue,
intellectual brutality.
No. I mean, there's a certain standard. A guy, you can't even go talk to that guy.
Yep.
Because he doesn't have this score or these grades.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
Isn't Georgia Tech the same way?
Well, and that's the conversation, right? So, as I said before, and maybe to someone that is still upset with me, what's the difference between Purdue and Georgia Tech? They're both land grant public schools. People think they're both private. They're not.
No, those are public schools that are engineering. Those are engineering schools.
Does that make sense?
Purdue put someone on the moon.
No, not one. A few. Anyway.
Oh, I'm sorry.
A few. Anyway. My point being that's who they are. It's not Duke or Stanford, right?
Right.
But the perception and what you do and how you push that out and your graduates make that possible.
Right.
To make it look like it's private across and that pride is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you're not gonna pull back on that. But my point again is, hey, look, do you want to win or not?
Right.
If football's important, everybody's not going to be on the moon.
Right. I went to UNC.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand. I went to UNC. UNC.
And I think Carolina went through the same issues as Carolina's on and Tobacco Road. they're talking about, well, between those two schools, it's not Duke. We are Duke, but we're not Duke, right?
Right. But it's also not but also Wake Forest. And it's
exactly right. You're caught in between. And
it's hard. They're in a tough spot. Like for me, when I look at it, I think with Stanford, and then I think obviously with Georgia Tech. Obviously, Georgia Tech had a lot of. Do you think that this is the last question?
Mike, here's another thing.
Do you think that Georgia Tech needs to play the option to win, or can they do something else?
They can do something else.
Okay,
they need to do something else.
Yeah, because the option right now is no different than when I came to Purdue with Joe Tiller, with just spread it all out everywhere, and make everything equal. Right?
Yes,
I was kind of caught up to that. My other question, I lost my train of thought, but the other question was, hey, look, if that's the case, right? So why would, Tulane, who looks completely different than they've looked in the last 10 years.
Yes, completely.
You know where I'm headed with this, right?
Yep.
And Willie Fritz should be the coach there.
Yes. Yes, right? I think you're right.
And so there's a reason why he's not. I'll just say that.
You're right, and I understand. Here's the thing. We got to go. We hit the number. We got to go. For Coach Kevin Sumlin, for Trevor Knight, I'm Michael Felder. This has been Field of 12. We're out of here.